Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Strong Inside and Out Leadership Lessons. And I have to start with an apology. Last week was crazy, and I did not get the podcast recorded or uploaded or released to you. It's the first time I have not done that since the 1 week that I was sick and lost my voice in the middle of 2023. So yikes. I felt really, really bad about that. But I have to say, I'm on spring break this week and I'm recording and getting caught up and getting ahead actually of the game. So I don't anticipate it happening again. But thank you. Thank you for tuning back in and helping me get out this information, wrapping up our series on being the best leader that you can possibly be by embracing my 5 principles that really help us to show up as our very, very best. Some great news about this week. On Friday, March 7th, I believe the day was, at 1 p.m., my TEDx talk officially released on their platform. So it is out there in the world. You can go view it. Again, the talk really is geared towards educators, but definitely something that you can use in any realm. And as a matter of fact, I've already had some people reach out saying that they're going to be sharing it within their organizations and getting the word out because the message is so amazing. So I want to say thank you to all of those people who have reached out and shared that with me. And for those of you who have not seen it yet, go search me on YouTube, Cheri Dixon, and you can find the TED Talk and check it out. I was pretty proud of myself, especially once I sat down and really listened to it. I shared on yesterday's episode of Strong Inside and Out that years ago, I would have been in a place where I would have been very hard on myself listening to something like that, saying silly things like, oh my gosh, do I look good enough? And do I look fat? Do I look professional? My voice sounds bad, all of the things, but it really is more about the message and how that gets out. So, yeah, go out and check that out. Also, had a very great session this morning. I'm recording this on Monday, March 10th, and I recorded with someone this morning, Innovating Education. Education, I believe, is the name of the podcast. And we talked about all things education, and it was such a great and deep conversation. So I know it's not releasing until after Easter because the host is going away for a while and not going to have access to internet, but it's going to be great. So once I have that, I'll make sure to share that out as well. So this week, we're wrapping up this final episode in our series, Becoming the Leader You Were Meant to Be, being the best leader you can be. And one of the things I said today on the podcast recording was, if you think you're going into leadership because you're going to have an easier path, it's just not true. And I've said that over and over and over. And we have to continue to find ways that we can show up as our best self because leadership is really hard. Just like I said, teaching is hard because it matters. Leadership is hard, especially if you're doing it right, because it really matters. And the podcast host asked me, what would one piece of advice be for teachers who are aspiring to become school leaders? And I said, you have to be sure that you're doing it for the right reason. You need to know your why, and that why needs to be something that's going to have an impact, not just, I don't want to grade papers anymore. And I use that example because I've actually heard that from a candidate when I have been interviewing. So we know we do this because we love it. And we wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And that's why you tune in every week so that you can get those little pieces of nuggets that will help you be your very, very best. So this week we're wrapping up with self-care. And it's interesting because I have a quote calendar here next to my computer that I look at every day. And today's quote says this in particular: strength grows in the moments when you think you can't go on, but you keep going anyway. And I want to talk about that quote for just a moment. It doesn't say who the quote's from or anything, but let's think about this. I grew up in the Midwest. And I heard somebody talking about this the other day. They too were from the Midwest. They're from Wisconsin. I'm from Iowa, very close by. And she made the comment that she always believed she had to be the hardest worker in the room. And when I stepped back and reflected on that comment a little bit, because it resonated with me quite a bit, that was the ethic of my work ethic of my family. I was talking to my sister about it afterward, and I said, if we think about all of the people in our family, so my uncle went to college. He graduated, but he never finished his certification to become a PE teacher. He wanted to be a teacher as well. So he graduated, but never went on to teach. His wife at the time did become a special education teacher. So she had a college degree. Then there was me, a whole generation later. I was the oldest grandchild in the family, oldest child in my family, of course. And I got my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, and my master's degree. Um, then I have a cousin who is a year younger than my brother, and he has a bachelor's degree. I have another cousin who's a year older than my daughter, who has an associate's degree. And then my daughter. My daughter has her bachelor's degree and her master's degree. But the rest of our family, they didn't go to college. That was not the normal path. Those of us who did, we were the outliers in our family. And everybody's fine with everybody, right? We don't judge each other. Years ago, I was judged a bit because I was too smart, quote, for others in my family. But for the most part, it's a piece of paper, right? It's a piece of paper that for some professions, like education, you have to have it. But otherwise, it's a piece of paper. And basically, it tells the world that you are able to go through these educational experiences successfully to earn that piece of paper. Some people strive to do that, some people don't. And I think that the way the world is shaping at this point in time, there are so many opportunities, whether you go to college or not. I wouldn't say don't go to college, but I wouldn't say you have to go to college either. I think that you have to make a decision that's right for you. But having said all that, it didn't mean I was a harder worker than my brother or my sister who didn't go to college. My brother works on a farm and he gets up early in the morning. He works very, very hard physically. He leaves at the end of the day. His shifts change at times. My sister works for a student loan company. She's a supervisor within her realm. Works very hard, works extra hours. As a matter of fact, I tell her she probably gives too much to her company for her amount of pay. My dad worked hard, my grandpa worked hard, my grandma worked hard. Even my mom, who had a lot of mental health things going on, wasn't necessarily the best mom. She worked hard. We believe in hard work. None of us take extra time off. Some people have other health issues going on, but for the most part, we're not a sickly kind of family. And it was just how we were raised. And when I see quotes like this, strength grows in the moments when you think you can't go on, but you keep going anyway. I often wonder if this gives people like me the wrong message. Sure. When you are thinking about leadership, when you are thinking about making change, when you are thinking about building something, you're going to have a lot of setbacks. And you have to believe you can keep going. even amongst the setbacks. I am bright enough, mature enough to understand that distinction. But what about the people who don't feel that or understand that separation? What about the people who embrace that thought as I'm weak if I embrace self-care? I'm not smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, whatever enough if I take time for myself, if I take a break. Because I'm going to promise you, someone out there listening right now is saying, yeah, that's me. Because I think it was me. I share in the TED Talk that I went through a really hard divorce. I was a few years into my principal journey and I didn't know how to handle it. And so I threw myself into my work. I worked all the time. I wasn't taking care of myself. I just worked more, harder. Then I got into a new relationship, the one I thought was going to be my forever. It just didn't work out. It wasn't like he did anything or I did anything. We live in two separate places. We couldn't come to a common ground of where we wanted to live. I want the city life. He is not that kind of person, and it didn't work out. It was hard. It hurt. I threw myself into my work even more because now I didn't have that relationship to think about, to nurture. My daughter had moved out of the nest, right? She had always been in her own apartment, but she moved across the city and now she's an hour and 15 minutes away. She has her own life. She's building her own family. What was I supposed to do? I had friends, but they all were in similar situations, or their children were still home or just starting college, and everybody worked hard and everybody was busy. And so I just worked harder and made myself busier. And then I hit a wall. It was my last year of being a principal, and several things happened that year. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I had a setback in the summer that made me 100% question my role as a principal. I had already decided that I was going to transition into being a business owner, but I was giving myself 2 years. And this was the end of the first year. And I just couldn't put my heart in it that last year. I couldn't. And I hated it. It wasn't me. Plus, I was building a business. Plus, I was training for a marathon. Plus, I was trying to nurture all my friend groups and nurture new friend groups and networks. I was running myself into the ground. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was grabbing food when I could grab it. Sometimes it was healthy, sometimes it was not. I was sleeping when I could sleep. I was beyond stressed and overwhelmed. And December, I got sick. And I'm not one to get sick. It started as the season starts to change here in Houston. My allergies change. My body was worn down. So it led to a respiratory infection and a sinus infection. And if I get those, they hit me very hard. I've gotten them a few times in life, but they're hard. And I couldn't heal. And I had to have a doctor and I had to have medicine and all of the things. I finally get back to a place where I thought, okay, I'm healthy again. Now I'm back to school. The Christmas break is over. I'm running ragged again. I'm doing all the things again, thinking that, oh, okay, I'm strong again. In May, my last week to be there at the school, I got sick with the same thing again. And at that moment, it told me, you're not taking care of you. You're embracing strength grows in the moments when you think you can't go on, but you keep going anyway, because I knew I was tired. I knew I needed a break. I knew I needed to rest. I knew that I needed to be living life differently. But in my mind, I'm telling myself, if I take a break, I'm not strong enough, not good enough. And it really did a number on me. And that illness, same illness, respiratory and sinus infection, but it set me back 6 weeks because I couldn't get to a place where I could feel healthy again because I left the principalship and went right into building a business. I had family in town. I was trying to be everything to everyone, and it took me a long time to get back on track. And that moment that I realized, girl, you gotta take care of you, is the moment things changed. I stop when I need to stop. When I feel like I'm hitting the wall, it tells me, give yourself a break. And I allow myself to give myself that break. I set my boundaries. As I think back to that previous year, that year of all the illness, I even remember spring break. I was hanging out with some friends. These are friends that I had had forever and ever and ever. They're living life. I started living life like them. It wasn't healthy. I was staying up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was not eating well. I was drinking more. We were out and about. I was around all the people. And I remember going home one night going, it is 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm 52 years old. What in the hell am I doing? Now, I have no qualms with you live your life. You live your life the way you want to. And if that's what they wanted to do, that is fantastic. I'm a party girl. I'm a hard rock girl. I've been to concerts and parties and partied with celebrities before. I enjoy a good party, but it was becoming my everyday. And that was not my life. That was not what I wanted my life to be. Unfortunately, I now don't hang out with those friends as much anymore. As a matter of fact, I saw them about a week ago and it almost felt awkward. But it is what it is because at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save me, only me, right? Only me. I am the one person that I can rely on in life. It was a boundary I had to set. I schedule my workouts. I've always been someone who's done that. But for whatever reason, that last year, it was just kind of a, well, if I get a workout in, I get a workout in. It can't be that anymore. I'm 53. I need to be able to stay strong, stay healthy. I meal plan again. But most importantly, I give myself the grace to say, I've got to rest. I've got to slow down. It's okay if I take a night and do some Netflix binging. Do I do it all day, every day? Nope. Would I love to? Sure. Wouldn't we all love to? But I don't do it all day, every day, because everything in moderation and allowing myself that time to not think for a little bit is also part of self-care. So as my sister and I were wrapping up our conversation, she said, and you said it best in your talk. You said, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And that is absolutely true, y'all. When we are run down, we're not going to be able to be our best for anybody else, in addition to ourselves. Now, I don't have to tell you because I'm preaching to the choir, but we all know the leader is one of the most important people within the organization. Sure, you can't do it alone. You need your people, you need your teams, you need stuff to get done, and you can't do it all. However, you have a huge influence on everything that happens. You have a specific attitude, your people will have that attitude. You show up every day, tired, disheveled, not being your best, it opens the door for people to be able to do the same thing. You're grouchy, they're going to be grouchy. On the flip side, if you are modeling self-care, you also make it okay for them to embrace self-care. Now we've got full cups, so to speak, everywhere within the organization. And we can embrace this quote the way it's meant to be. That strength grows in the moments when you think you can't go on, but you keep going anyway because you had a setback with a strategy. Because there's something you don't know how to do. Because you're in this learning curve and it's hard. Because you're planning and prioritizing and setting new goals. Not because you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're overworked, and you're drained. So, ladies and gentlemen, leaders out there all over the world, as we wrap up this series, we've talked about being able to do things for the right reason, knowing your why. We've talked about running your day. We've talked about planning for success and showing up as your most successful self every day. We've talked about managing your life and all of the things that have to get done. And now we put the cherry on top, so to speak, talking about the crucial need for us to be able to take care of us. And when you do all of those things, your mindset is different. You couple that with a skill set that's on fire, we can do the impossible. We can lead different. We can take care of our people. We can empower our people to be their very, very best. If you haven't listened to my TEDx talk, Teaching is Hard Because It Matters. Fill in the blank, change up the word teaching, whatever you want to do when you listen. Google it. Go to YouTube, search it. It's powerful. 15 minutes that can have a huge impact on how you move forward in life and in business. All right, y'all. I hope you got that little piece of information you needed this week to keep you going strong, because we need great leaders out there in the world. Those that are thinking with their head and leading with their heart. Do me a favor. Number one, leave me a review if you've not done so, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. And number two, share this out with a leader that you think could utilize these free tips every week, because that's what I'm here for, to give you as much as I can to help you be the best leader you can for the lowest cost possible. And the podcast is free. So free is for me. I don't know about you, but all right. Have an amazing week. I am going to enjoy some spring break time later this afternoon after I get the work done. And I'm forcing myself to enjoy some spring break love every day this week. So I'll talk to you all next week, right back here on Leadership Lessons with Cheri.